In the home front, every man wants to be treated like a king. Unfortunately, you now see a situation where even the person you are in a relationship with now treats someone else outside.
Better.
Maybe their pastor, maybe their mentor, maybe their sibling, and they treat them better than the person that they're in covenant with. We just found one new spot on the island. And in my mind, I was thinking, I'm feeling so tired. I've done more than 8 hours of job. And then I would drive to the club and spend the whole night there. Mm-hmm. It is a sign that perhaps there's no peace at home.
Even though she eventually said the knife was to scare the man. But what if in the middle of it, the man pushes himself into the knife? It doesn't matter what the man had done all the while. You are a murderer. And especially these days that we don't even know if your husband has a boyfriend. Because gayism is, yes now, gayism is everywhere. And there can be the excuse of, oh, I'm talking to my friend, he's a colleague at work. You don't know if they are knocking in the office. Hey. But no. Hold on now, babe. It is the E.B.U.N show, a talk show for women and the men who love them. I am Ebunlomo. Marriage, relationship, love affair is totally a beautiful thing. But there comes a time when it goes sour and two lovers turn their backs on each other. On this episode, we're going to be discussing deal breakers. What are deal breakers? When should a person check out of a marriage or relationship? With me on this episode is Nifemi Oguteye, a broadcast journalist and Ebunlomo's husband. You're welcome on the show. Thank you, Mr. Nifemi Oguteye, for honoring our invitation.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so today we're going to be discussing deal breakers and when to check out of a relationship or marriage. So my first question is, what are the red flags or signs that a relationship is unhealthy and toxic?
I think the first thing you should look out for is when a person is set in their ways and they tell you try to convince them the other way, they are not yielding. You need to be able to know how stubborn your partner is because in the journey of life, you're going to have some very you will have to make some very difficult decisions. Sometimes you have to bend over. Things will not always go your way. So if you meet someone who is always set in their ways, this is what they say they want to do. It doesn't matter how you convince them. It doesn't matter what happens. They are set, they're cast in iron. It is a red flag because it means therefore that at those critical junctures in your marital life where you need to be flexible, take turns, decide to maybe take the back seat for your partner to flourish, they might not be willing to take that path. And it will be very difficult to change their minds.
Yeah, I think I would go to relationships, right? Because I think it is more profitable for me if you find these red flags before marriage. And I think one of the things is, like you said, people who are set in their ways. People like this often always want to recruit the other person to do their bidding alone. It is only what they want that matters. And I think ladies fall prey of this most times. I'm not saying there are no men like that because we find some men that are mushy, quite the lover boy, and they want to do anything to please the lady. But hey, it's a women's program, So I think ladies should look out for people who always discard their person or their endeavors. They might not say it outrightly, but you should always look for those signals. I'm not saying turn yourself into an FBI and you begin to read meanings to everything. But I mean, there are some people when the most important thing or the best time they light up is when they're talking about their own thing, how they want to achieve something, their ambition maybe to travel out and all of that. And if when you're talking about yours, it's always, or there's no pursuing.
That means you're not pivotal in their life. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think both endeavors should be given. Both people should be heard. You want to do this, I support you. I want to do this. Yes, I understand in cases where the person can advise you, but not always discard because I know that ladies can be quite emotional. Don't let relationship or emotions block your view of things. There are things you want to achieve, because we find a lot of ladies who just let things go. Eventually, always think about the future. Don't think about now.
Absolutely.
Would you really want to dump your vision forever?
I also think that you should pay attention to the longevity of relationships in their lives. So there are people who have stopped talking to their parents. People who have stopped talking to their siblings.
To their
who have
parents.
severed very important relationships in their life. That's a red flag, because that's a red flag, because in marriage it's supposed to be for better, for worse, and the deal is to be there forever. It means therefore that you are going to have to take a lot of shit. You are going to have to take the things you normally would not want to take, because you are committed to forever with that person. So you are paying attention to how many of such relationships have to sever. There are people who don't, the moment they see any fraction of error, they have made up their minds about you. That's not going to work in marriage.
Or people who keep malice a lot. You're supposed to, so there are days of, you can choose not to talk for a period of time, but there are some people, once you offend them or they want you to do something, it goes on for days, and then, or you find out that they never come back to genuinely discuss things. They keep saying, oh, there's nothing wrong, you carry on, but you find out that for months you're on tippy toes with them.
Watch out for people who can beef you for 6 months, so that your marriage doesn't end up in you living in the same house but separately. There are people like that who live under the same roof, but the husband cooks separately, the woman cooks separately. That's
so maybe that should just take us to what the deal breakers are. How do you define deal breakers, whether in marriage or relationships, and what are the things that are quite non-negotiable for you?
So I'll speak for myself, and I hope that I represent a significant number of men out there. First, I think dishonor and disrespect. So every man is a king. Even if they are not winning in life, they should at least win at home. If they are not being respected outside, I am the kind of person that if our relationship doesn't have that mutual honor, I'm going to step away from you. I'm not going to fight you. I'm not going to beef you. I'm just going to see that relationship as being toxic. So in the home front, every man wants to be treated like a king. Unfortunately, you now see a situation where even the person you are in a relationship with now treats someone else outside.
Better.
Maybe they are pastor, maybe they are mentor, maybe they are sibling, and they treat them better than the person that they are in covenant with. That is a deal breaker. Secondly, it has to do with peace. Every man wants a peaceful atmosphere because it's crazy out there. Sometimes I go to work and then I have a headache because of the intensity of the work I've done. I don't want to come back home and continue with the headache. I want to come back home and see and feel peace and look for, and that's why, that I left work one day. It was a Friday night. And some guy was telling me that, it's just that you don't go out. We just found one new spot on the island. And in my mind, I was thinking, I'm feeling so tired. I've done more than 8 hours of job. And then I would drive to the club and spend the whole night there. It is a sign that perhaps there's no peace at home. Because I just want to go to somewhere and lay my head. I don't want to go to a place where there's so much noise. So don't beef men when they go out. They're looking for peace. You might think it's noisy, but they find nobody is judging them where they are. They are sitting across a table over a bottle of beer, and nobody is criticizing them. Nobody is saying that thing you did. They are just laughing it out, and then they enjoy that peace. Thirdly, I think it will be infidelity, which, of course, is a break deal. I mean, is a
break dealer.
Is a break dealer.
Deal breaker.
Deal breaker for most people. Even though I have an exception to that, because There's no way you will live a lifetime together without, making such mistakes. There are angels in human flesh who live 80, 90 years not cheating on their spouses and all of that. But most people are still human. So in my opinion, as much as it is a deal breaker, I think it is the attitude to it that's a deal breaker for me.
It's funny how you were so emphatic on respect and honor and peace, and for infidelity you made an exception.
There's an exception for everything as long as you have the right attitude to it. For instance, see, here's the truth. There's no perfect person. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's something that you call a deal breaker, and somebody would have done it 1,000 times and still be in that marriage because of their attitude.
I was going to go to, well, that is a problem, because when we talk about people who are unending cheats and they are able to still remain in the marriage because of attitude, these people go out, they come back bearing gifts and roses. It depends on the woman. It is not even much about the man as it is so it brings me to the fact that deal breakers are different for different people.
Absolutely.
You should not adopt someone else's deal breaker, because why some people, once their partners cheat once, they can't take it again. So I feel that first, everybody should not say this is what this person says, because there are some things that some people can take and others can't. You find women who know that their husbands cheat, and maybe it's even the side chick that comes to them to say your husband is around. They say, why you people finish enjoying yourself? Just send him home. You come back home. You know, there are some women that are so nonchalant, but another person cannot adopt that, and the reason is, if you know that infidelity is a deal breaker, make it strong to the man or your partner, and when they do it, honorably leave. You know why? Because it bets anger in some people, and they never forgive it until they misbehave. Some people, it is hitting. I personally cannot allow anybody hit me. I made that clear from the start, because I have a tendency to fight back. Eventually, we hear of husbands and wives killing themselves, God forbid, and one happened in a place where we live, and that is why, you see, sometimes people don't like us discussing deal breakers, moving away from marriage, moving away from relationship. But as much as we say relationships are beautiful, love is beautiful, marriage is beautiful, there are some times that you have to move away when it is becoming unhealthy. And we have this very peaceful woman in the same compound we live. When I finish the story, you understand who I'm talking about. Easy going, the woman never fights with anybody. All of a sudden, there was a night we just heard a noise downstairs, and I wasn't even going to bother myself, because I can't be bothered by noises. Then we're living in a space where there were quite a number of other tenants, but they mentioned a particular name, and it's not usual of her to do that kind of thing. So I stepped down and I saw her with a knife.
She was going to stab the husband.
Maybe she wasn't going to do it. Maybe she was. But the truth is, you had a knife. And when I told her, what's the issue? She was like, each time the man comes home, the man beats her. You understand? But she had been, even we didn't know. So normally she just takes the beating in silence. And that day she wasn't going to have it. Even though she eventually said the knife was to scare the man. But what if in the middle of it, the man pushes himself into the knife? It doesn't matter what the man had done all the while. You are a murderer. So, and that is why it is important to begin to define what are the things you cannot take, because the society tells women to endure these things until they become maybe murderers or suspects or something. We find some women angrily cutting the private part of a man away because he has cheated on them so much. Meanwhile, the first time everybody says, that is how it is done. You cannot, because of one case. Our level of taking in things differ. So for some people, they don't mind. Matter of fact, once I still have this person's name, just take care of me and the children. If you like, have 100 side chicks.
Even though at that point, it is no longer marriage as it is expected to be.
Well, but some people can take it.
But I also think that there's a thin line. I think that there's a difference between separation and divorce. And you recall that in the Bible, when God brought Adam and Eve into the garden, he gave them everything and mentioned the deal breaker. that if you eat of this particular tree, you are out. And he did what he said. He sent them out. It didn't mean that that relationship wasn't restored. It was restored later on because it wasn't completely severed. So there are situations in marriage, because we're talking about marriage now, where when certain things happen, it is recommended that you separate. But one thing I have found out, for instance, when we met, there were reasons, I had reasons for loving you. Do you understand? I liked your strong personality. I liked that you were pretty. There was just a lot of things that resonated with me. I liked that you were handsome and that, there was, you could serve. I liked that you were ambitious. I liked the fellowship that we had. And I just feel like I need this person on my side. Do you understand? But after 10 years,
to help your life,
not necessarily.
No,
to mutually be of help to one, to each other.
Yeah.
But after 10 years of marriage, that perception has changed for me. I'm not sure I've ever discussed this with you. I now don't have a reason to love you. So my love for you is no longer about what you do, what you stopped to do, or what you did not do. My love for me is unconditional. My love for you is unconditional. And I picked that up from my experience with the love of God. Because in my walk with God, I have messed up a bajillion times. And every time I come back, in fact,
it takes you back.
It takes me back. It takes me back to the point where I am now at that relationship with God where I have set goals for myself to do what is right by God. He has forgiven me so many times that I am saying, this year, God, I am going to give you a period of time without this easily besetting sin. I'm going to go an extra mile to also show that you have loved me enough. Let me now begin to love you. And I am at that point in our marriage where our love is unconditional. It's not about what you do. Not many people eventually get to that point, even in the lifespan of their marriage. So that's why I think that even when certain things are deal breakers, if it is so strong in the areas of violence, abuse, like the things you talked about that could lead, I think we can recommend separation. In the moment of separation, you can now tell whether this person is repentant enough. In fact, in separation, sometimes we even find out that the man or the woman will see it as an opportunity to step out. You know that the person was not even inside with you before. He was just in because society has told him or her that the marriage was not. I started out the marriage thinking that no marriage should break. But I have seen enough now to say that it is better to preserve a life. It's better to be a living divorced person than a dead married person.
You started this particular point with something that resonates with me. Define the deal breaker before you enter marriage.
Absolutely.
Let them know what it is, right? I appreciate the fact that it is no longer about what I do, which excites me. But the truth is, there are still some things that if I begin to do, I'm sure I've wronged you severally. There are some things we do not agree on, but there are some things that if I begin to do, like begin to sleep around, the love of God might not hold you back.
The deal breaker will come back.
Do you understand?
I will now have new deal breakers.
Let me finish what I'm... No, it's not as if you have new.
Yeah.
They had always been there. And that is why I'm saying this to encourage someone that let your partner know. And then you made an allusion to the garden. God did not just tell them that do not do this. When they did it, there were consequences.
Absolutely.
The problem we have with many people is when your partner actually touches on your deal breaker, you let it go. By letting go, I'm not saying pack your load, but let them know that you touched this thing. You might not see me. I'm not going to define what you should do because that's not what this episode is about. But let them feel it. That it shouldn't happen again. But I'm saying that you know that this thing will eventually lead to the breaking of the marriage, and you find someone playing around the similitude of it and you are laughing about it. They'll never take you seriously because they feel this person just said it. And now that we're already touching on infidelity, let's talk about how to gain back trust after infidelity.
Well, I think it has to do with, first, You mentioned something that I think you have done well in the past 10 years, and it has to do with when that issue is touched, you show how severe it is.
Carry.
You show how severe it is. I don't want to go into the details. I don't know if you're going to be comfortable about it. But sometimes a man needs to see that if I continue in this path, I'm going to lose this woman. And then at that point, the man now becomes very logical and begins to weigh the options. Like, okay, is it really worth it? Do you understand? And at that point is where I think it matters what you're saying. But it also doesn't work like that for every other person.
No.
Because like we said, people's deal breaker, as big as we think infidelity is.
That's why I said some people.
Some women don't care. As long as you are providing for them, they feel that's
why you shouldn't adopt another person's deal breaker. But we're talking about infidelity because we would always err. I think the society already makes room for the man's infidelity. You accept him like that.
But never for the woman.
Never for the woman. In most cases, it is to cast a stone at a killer.
Because the perception is that a man can sleep with another woman without necessarily being in love or being committed to them. But the society believes that before a woman can sleep with a man, it's not just physical.
But
right?
Are you not already saying that the society is wrong?
Yes, with the many number of DNA, what do they call it?
DNA cases. So I think that we should just stop all this measure of a man can sin, a woman cannot. But when infidelity has happened, I think the culprits should own up. Because see, for trust, and do not now force your trust down the person's throat. If you have wronged the person, you have gone out and you're back. You are not the one to tell the person, you should trust me now. It will take time, and it is by your actions how genuinely sorry you are. If you are not touching around it anymore, because some people say they're sorry, they've not severed relationship with whoever they slept with or whatever went on between the person, and you just say, it's just my friend, it's just my. Do you understand? How do you expect your woman or your man? That one is funny, Sha. Your woman to continue to see this person, you still have conversations with this person, and you're saying you're no longer doing that again. So you might want to have some level of sacrifice on your part, at least to win the woman back.
I also think that it's important that trust, you understand that trust is being built over time. It's like if you kill someone now, you don't go to court and say, I'm genuinely sorry, I repent. The judge won't say, just go away. You will serve the time. You will serve the time, and then when you are done serving the time, you now have the opportunity to prove to the world that you have really changed. So when you cheat on your partner, be willing to serve the time, because it shows that you are committed to change and that you are saying, you matter to me more than the mistake I've made. And if the other partner sees that genuineness, all of us are products of God's forgiveness. There's nobody that can say, well, because I've never cheated on my spouse. There are other things you have done that killing somebody, does it not carry more weight in law than cheating on? Do you understand what I'm saying? So all of us have areas in our lives where we have erred, and if we can learn from the way God has forgiven us, it will be easy to forgive others. Because in my opinion, and I'm saying this not because I'm perfect, I don't know how I will react, for instance, if God forbid you cheat on me. Do you understand? But I feel that it is the greatest test of what we call love. Because love is easier when I am well behaved. Do you understand? The kind of love that you enjoy from God is such that even you are the black sheep, I'm still coming out for you. I'm still running. I am leaving the 99. I am coming for the one. So I think it is in situations like this that the real love in marriage is tested. If, for instance, a man or a woman errs and they say they are genuinely repentant and they are willing to go all the way, that's when it will now matter whether you really love that person or not.
I understand that we have spoken so much about infidelity, violence, maybe domestic violence. we understand that there are other issues that we have not talked about. That's what the comment section is about. There's emotional torture, there's talking down on you, maybe disrespect to your parents.
There's distance, long distance.
Yeah, there's also long distance. There's some people who will tell you that if you're going to travel out and I'm not there with you, and see, we cannot castigate people for their deal breakers. I think the most important thing is just identify it way before you get into the marriage. Right. Not start picking up different deal breakers in marriage. That one, you really do not want the marriage. You're just looking for an excuse. So finally, as we begin to round off, I want us to talk about maintaining boundaries in relationships,
which I think is key because it's a lifetime together. Everybody deserves their space. There are times where, not that you want to be alone, but you just want some measure of freedom. And I think that it's important that you allow your spouse to get it. My wife, for instance, has been complaining for years that she's been working at home for so long that she has grown tired of home. You need to create space for people to live out their desires in the confines of what is right anyways. Because if a person in marriage feels imprisoned, they will start revolting. And most times that's why when small things happen and then you see a major reaction, it's not just what has happened. It's because they haven't found room to express themselves. If, for instance, a partner has an ambition, a goal, a desire, and because of the situation or the circumstance of the marriage, there's no room to express it, they will start showing it in other areas. So a partner wants to travel out. Do you understand? Maybe he wants to go for a course. And then the other partner is not paying attention to that. You begin to see the reaction in other areas. So as much as the two have become one, they should find time to be themselves and support, and each partner should understand and give them that room to express themselves.
You see why we're different people? Because I totally understand that question differently.
Oh, really?
So what I understand by boundaries is with other people. You want to begin to define your relationship with other people, maybe with opposite sex. Are there times of the day you feel that chatting or talking to this person is disrespectful to my partner? You have to be able to define that. And it doesn't matter even if it's the opposite sex or same sex, because there are some people, like you talked about respect, where when you're supposed to be attending to your partner, you're on a long call with someone else. And especially these days that we don't even know if your husband has a boyfriend. Because gayism is, gayism is everywhere, and there can be the excuse of, oh, I'm talking to my friend, he's a colleague at work. You don't know if they are knocking in the office. But no, that's hold on now. So, but really, it's not just in the area of infidelity. It's in the area of the respect, the regard the person wants. You should be able to say to this point and no further. When whatever you have done from morning till 6, when I get back home, it should be family time. We should be able to, and I think it just boils down to communication. We should be able to talk about these things. We overlook it with the assumption we both understand each other. Understanding is not assumed. Understanding is communicated.
Absolutely.
Do you understand? So you want to draw that boundaries. It could be boundaries with in-laws, with your sisters.
I think I learned that in the hard way, in my marriage. I also think that marriage is as simple as do what your wife wants, and wife, do what your husband wants. If you are able to do, at least, do to an extent, fulfill the desire of your spouse, you will have a great marriage. So if your wife doesn't want you talking with this person, stop talking with that person. Because I found out that cheating is not only when you have sex with someone.
No.
There's emotional.
Yeah,
you can be given,
no,
if you are giving
from somewhere.
I'm saying even if it doesn't lead to sex. If you are giving more time to a person outside that marriage, it is cheating. So
or disrespect
to an extent. So I think it's just important that you identify what your spouse, and then when your spouse is raising an eyebrow on certain things, it's either you clarify yourself or you build a boundary in that regard.
Yeah, I think we've actually spoken a lot about this, and we want more deal breakers in the comment section. You already know that the comment section is the other half of the show. So let us know what you feel about what we have discussed. We do not claim to have completely exhausted this topic, and that is why we're counting on what your own opinion or what your take is concerning the matter.
You know that this episode was not as romantic as the last one. it speaks to the fact that marriage isn't all about mushy mushy. There are times when you sit down to have those difficult conversations, and I think it's when you're able to break through those difficult conversations that you begin to become really real in your marriage.
Definitely.
And please, if you want more, subscribe, like, share, and keep promoting the E.B.U.N show.
He has said it, and that's it on the show. Bye.
If my being married is beginning to threaten my life and my sanity, I might want to create a space. What will people say? To hell with what people will say. They are not in that marriage with you. Then I had another instance where a woman lost her dad. And the idea of the husband to comforting the woman is sleeping with her. And you want me to subject my body to candle wax? You want to whip me? You want to pee on me before you have sex with me?
Pee.
Marriage is not a do or die affair. And the society should understand that.